Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, there she is. Whoop, there she goes. All right. Listen, you guys are going to have to give me a minute because I've been on the phone. How is everybody? Oh, how is everybody? Hello. So this is going to be a hi. Hold on. Good morning, party people. Hang on a second. Let me put my earbuds on. I got to let my cat out. Hi, everybody. Hi, 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 hi. Y'all hear me? Let's see. Is this thing on? 1, 2, 1, 2. Hang on. Let me do this. Hi. So I would really want to talk. Come here, cat. I really want. Oh, you guys are just gonna have to bear with me. Okay, hang on. Let me see. One moment, please. Please stand by. Please stand by. Toodles is doing a walkthrough of the. Let's see. I'm gonna have to give her some foods. One moment, please. What? Hello. I'm fucking with. Why is my background so jacked up? Hi. So I'm gonna feed my cat. There she is. Hi. But I'm trying to think out loud about the contempt hearing because I am very confused about the contempt hearing. And I don't know if y'all are confused or if it's probably just me. I got to figure out if I can fix. 1 minute. Sorry. Let me try to fix this camera. Hi. Now, because we need to see the cat. Hi. Did I just say, oh, there she is. Hello. Good morning, Judas. As a mama's baby. Oh, God, she's going to attack me. Okay. Can somebody please tell me all about what the hell's going on with the contempt hearing? So, actually, I got to feed the cat. So you're getting the full Andy this morning. Let me see if I can set this up so you can watch the cat while I get her foods. There she is. Okay. So while I get her some food, I'm going to just think out loud. Okay. I'm going to think out loud about the contempt hearing, which was held within the Richard Allen trial against Andrew Baldwin and attorney Bradley Rosie. I've been going through court filings, as I want to do, and I've noticed that Nick McClelland has made some bold claims in his January motion for contempt, to bring contempt charges of, what did he call it? Something, it wasn't criminal contempt, but anyway, he makes bold claims about the provenance, if you will, of all of the information that he was going to present via his BFF, Jerry Holman, about how those dirty, rotten scoundrels over at the defense bar effed around with crime scene photos. Now, here, I'm going to feed my cat now. Here, You want some of this foods? It's foods. Here. It's okay. Do it. Do it. You know you want it. There you go. Ah, ha, 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 ha. You boop. Okay, hang on. Sit this down. Um, so, uh, yeah, I've been trying to figure out what to make of this because when I compare what was represented in the filing by Nick McClellan in January of 2023, no, I'm sorry, 2024, it doesn't comport with Jerry Holman's testimony. And it doesn't make any real sense to me. So here's what I would like to speculate about. Let me get a hair tie. Again, look, man, I was just on the phone. It's what it is. You know what you get on the tin when it's these see you next Tuesday meetings? It's Andy being Andy in all her Andy. And there is the fire engine right on cue. Jesus Christ. So I'm going to pull up a couple documents in a minute, but hi. Let me say hi to everybody. You guys, what's going on? Seriously, it's a little too much. A little too much. I want to try to stay out of. Look, I enjoy trolling people who need to be trolled. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. But I want to try to focus very intently and try to focus you all's understanding of this case and you all's understanding of how things went down and sort of that what we can kind of think of or think through together that is potentially actionable about that very specific and very narrow topic of what was entered as actual evidence by the state of Indiana to prove that Mr. Westerman, who is at the center of all of this, actually provided the photo that was turned over to Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane, which became the basis for all of this. So while trust me, we can roast them all you want, but I want to understand exactly how and where to place this burden. And this burden needs to be placed squarely on the state of Indiana. And that is Nick McClellan acting as, the prosecutor, swearing under penalty of perjury, all this bullshit he put into his filing. Then Jerry Holman getting on the stand. And again, you can see down here in the corner, speculation. This is all speculation that Jerry sat there and lied on the stand. It's speculation on my part. I have no idea. I wasn't there. But man, oh man, doesn't sound like they really had the goods. So, good morning. Hi. Oh, you enjoy me. Good, good, good. Yay. Hello. Mars here. What's up? What's up? Oh, Veronica also. Sup. Post Punk Mama. Sup. Sup, sup, sup. Free Ricky Bay. Sup. Yep. I mean, but the thing is that bridging the gap from what we just know deep in our souls to what can be proved are two different things, right? And so I think everybody has a pretty good timeline of how, or at least let me start this way. Here's my understanding of the timeline of the leaks. And when I say the leaks, I mean the leaks going back to, I'm going to say, let's just say January 2023. So I know that there are some that go back further, and actually Criminality does a really great job um, of laying out the timeline, and that was a very big sort of community effort to piece that together. Um, and but for my purposes, I have to, and this is the way that I think, and everybody knows I'm autistic as hell. So I have to just say this. I can see the span of time literally as calendars in my head, but I have to focus on a very specific time frame. So I can't necessarily consider at this point, and while we're talking today, anything prior to January of 2023. And here's why. Because January 2023, the Prosecutor's Podcast and Brett Talley, who is a lawyer, because apparently anybody can be a lawyer, stated on his podcast and in a tweet or some sort of social media post. Why don't I bring that shit up? Oh, but I think that, I mean, look, there's bad actors here, and we all know it. But it's about taking it from, um, hang on, taking it from being a troll, being a righteous troll, if you will. Uh, it's not even being a troll. It's just kind of telling people the truth here and just showing how this shit happened. So let me share why I'm looking at this time frame. And it doesn't have anything to do, honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with these content creators. And that's what they are. They aren't journalists or lawyers, they're content creators. Because if they're representing themselves as lawyers, and I mean Kevin Greenlee or the Prosecutor's Podcast, if they're representing themselves as lawyers, ooh, that seems like, my goodness, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. So they're content creators, and what they do is put out content, and that's totally fine. It could be anybody. But the reason I'm choosing this is because it shows that, according to an officer of the court, Brett, old Sling Blade, what's his face? Hang on. Let me bring up my Twitter because this is where I put it. So here's the thing. And this is why I settled on this timeline for myself. So this is from January 2022 of 2023 of the Prosecutor's Podcast, stating, a few weeks ago, I got an email from someone claiming to have crime scene photos from Delphi. This is the part. Now, people always ask me, what can we do? What can we do? What action can we take? Here's an action you guys can take immediately. I forward the email to the Delphi police. Contact, through Freedom of Information, contact through the appropriate channels to access this communication, because that's public information, because it's a public agency. So let's see if Mr. Talley and his email that he says he forwarded the email to the Delphi police. That's the first time. That's the first time. Not October. Not October. That the state of Indiana was aware that there were crime scene photos or crime scene of the girls. He goes on to say, subsequently, those photos turned up on YouTube. Who is he talking about? I don't know. Don't care. My point is, Brett Talley has given us evidence that we can track down. So thank you, Brett, for your service. Thank you for your service. Because now we can go and ask the Delphi police, did you get this email from a lawyer, a sworn officer of the court? Did you get this email? And what did you do with it? Why didn't you attack this like you did in October? Or why didn't you attack this the way that Holman attacked Mr. Fortson before he died, before he shot and killed himself? Why? So we have the timeline, right? Delphi, including, obviously, Nick McClellan, acting as the state, had information about this leak. Okay? Starting then. So, this next part is from, is this the one? Actually, let me go to the actual document that I have. How y'all feeling? Anybody? What's going on? So yeah, FOIA. And the thing is that this is public information. So when people do ask me, I feel like kind of, I don't know. I mean, I feel sort of, oh, thank God she's eating. My God, she acts like, sorry. She acts like she's never eaten before. Anyway, so now she'll go to sleep, have a little, oh, thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God you're here. So the fuck was I saying? I'm telling you, I'm all over the place. It's that phone call that I had that I was talking about some of this. So we have a timeline. Delphi police were officially notified, and we have to follow up. Let me make a note. I got a remarkable. And it's going all right. It's going okay with this. So I wrote down a few things. Let's see. So let me bring up let me find my file. Please stand by. Okay, that's not it. February. Is this it? My pop-up windows are being blocked. Let's see. Oh God, there's that too. Is Fiend here? I don't know why this isn't pulling up. So I have the contempt hearing, which we're going to go through a wee bit. Actually, you know what? Let's look at this first, shall we? Because I think that this really sets the tone. This is from, because I think, the one thing that I cannot deny is that Murder Sheet played a critical role in this. I'm not sure what it was. Um, I kind of know what it was. I think we all kind of know what it was. But does she sleep a lot? Does she lick stuff? Nah. She, okay. So again, sidebar. Um, she likes to act like she hates her food. So because then she thinks that I'm going to cave in and give her a treat because I'm worried about her. She's an agent of chaos and a manipulator. Um, yes, I would say so. But hang on a second. Let me do this. I am trying to not add that. Okay. So I want to bring up this article from 2024, which is okay. And again, this is why I think Murder Sheet should keep talking. It should keep talking. October 24th, 2023. So as people will know, so now I'm giving some guardrails here. And I'm trying to think of a way to do this visually because I think visually, but maybe it's not in the cards. Okay. 2023, the prosecutor's podcast lets Delphi police know that there is a crime scene leak, that they have been put on YouTube and they have been put on notice. That's our first stop. Who at the Delphi police received that information? What did they do with it? And why didn't Nick McClellan follow up on it? So, if people are taking notes out there, right? So if people really do want to do something, I need people to take notes because we need to get this information. So, and I can't get all this information. I know All Eyes and other folks and a lot of you are working on this, but we need that information. So when that came in, what did Delphi police do? Was it Delphi police? Was it the sheriff's department? I don't know, because you know what? These people won't return my phone call because they know. And they know. Okay. Um, so we need that. So from January 2023, who received that email? And we need to go through because this has to go through the proper channels, right? So it has to go through the proper channels to find out because ultimately this does come down to proving a timeline, proving that the state, and we shouldn't have to do this as defendants, right? As sort of the royal we defendants shouldn't have to prove something to the state. The state must prove something to us. But that's not what's happening here, right? We know that. We all know that's not is what's happening here in Delphi. It's upside down land. So the onus is then on the public who pay the salaries of Nick McClellan and Jerry Holman and Delphi police. They're public servants and they need to serve. And they need to serve up whatever email they were given by Brett Talley. That's number one. So if anybody can access that, that'd be great. Number two, this. So we know that happened in January. Everybody and their monkey's uncle then becomes aware that these things have been out there in the universe. Everybody knows. Delphi police know. according to Brett and Alice through their podcast, they actually spoke it and then posted it, that they had contacted the Delphi police. So the Delphi police were aware. I keep harping on this because it's important. Acting like they didn't know that the crime scene photographs was out there is part of the bullshit. It's part of the narrative bullshit that has come out of these. What is she doing? What you doing, girl? It's part of the narrative bullshit that these people have put out here. It is part of the bullshit that must be combated. And it's not because we love child killers. I don't give a shit. They can say that all they want. They can pull on their victims' skin suits, crawl inside and inhabit the girl's skin for profit in that shit book that's written like, my God. My God. I think it's trash. You should be ashamed of yourselves over at Pegasus. And Simon, anyway, all right, let me get back on fucking track here. I'm sick of this shit. Delphi police knew. And because Anya and Kevin are good friends with the prosecutor's podcast, how in the hell did they not know until October? But this tells you exactly when the watershed for me comes in this case, and when the narrative really gets ground, really fucking comes to. 2023. This is an excerpt from True Crime Newsletter. Suspicious circumstances, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Two true crime podcasters investigating the 2017. First of all, they weren't investigating the fucking killings, right? We know that. They weren't there from the beginning. They weren't there from the beginning. They weren't. Were they investigating it? And if they were, who for? It's easy to find out. And we're going to get to the court documents that show that. Two young Indiana girls found themselves at the center of a turbulent, high-profile case. They found themselves at the center of, oh my goodness, after they got some gruesome crime scene photos from a defense attorney's office earlier this month. So let's think about this really, and this narrative that they are putting out there. This narrative is that this was thrust upon these poor podcasters who were investigating this crime. They were thrust into this spotlight, much like Christ, right? They've got, okay. They received gruesome crime scene photos leaked from a defense attorney's office. How did they know that? Because if we're to understand their timeline, the state became aware of it in the first week of October. Did they prove? How did they know they came from the defense? Truly, how did they know they came from the defense? There was no evidence of that. At this point in our timeline, there was no contempt hearing. At this point in our timeline, they had solved it. They'd solved the case of the leaked photos, right? I mean, and I'm not kidding. This is part of dismantling Nick McClelland's bullshit filing in January of 2024, bringing asking to bring contempt hearings against the defense during a murder trial. I keep referring to this as a turducken, and it is. This whole thing is a mess. And anybody that wants to say that this is justice and that, the court system worked in this case, I'll throw you a link if you think that. I'll throw you a link. Because it didn't. So let's see what else these motherfuckers put themselves at the centers of. Co-hosts Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, who turned over photos and other confidential evidence to authorities after receiving them on October 5th, are in Fort Wayne courtroom Thursday when the judges made a surprise announcement that Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin, court-appointed attorneys, blah, 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 had just abruptly resigned. So this is fact-free, right? This is a fact-free article. Fact-free. Fact-free. Right? They didn't abruptly resign. We know that now. But the thing is that because of the way news gets reported, there's no vetting here. This headline and this lead and this log line, they've solved the case. Okay? It's important that we know exactly who did the investigation here. Who did the investigation? Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane. Who absorbed that narrative and adopted it? Nick McClellan. Based on what? The sworn testimony of a couple of content creator podcasters? A couple of burger chef murder reporters? I'm not kidding. They'd solved it, folks. They done solved it. So let's see how this comports with what Nick files. Okay. Okay, let's see what they have to say. Don't even get me started on that. Okay. A photo of a tree, blah, blah, blah. Okay. HuffPost, Business Insider, sure. So a photo of the tree was one of the images received by Kane, a journalist, not a journalist. She's not a journalist. If she's a journalist, then journalism means nothing. The following interview has been lightly edited. Okay, here we go. Blah, blah, blah. You've gone from podcast investigators to being actively involved in this case. Ding, ding, ding. Well, I'll be damned. How do you feel about that? I'd say that a journalist, it makes me somewhat uncomfortable to be a part of the story as well as reporting on the story. We try to be very intentional and communicative with our audience about what we're doing. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're lying. What we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. Really? Because how you're doing it and how you represent doing it in your book flies in the face of the actual evidence. This is the thing. God, keep talking and keep writing. Keep talking and keep writing. Because you're telling a beautiful story. I would encourage Nick and all the rest to keep talking as well. Keep talking. Keep doing it, man. Keep doing it. You're giving a roadmap. Okay. Becoming involved seemed necessary owing to the massive amount of harm. Bullshit. What is she talking about? We've seen nothing at this point. What have we seen at this point? I'm not kidding. I'm asking legitimately. In 2023, right after the leak, what did we know as the public? I'm not kidding. Does anybody Somebody please tell me. There's 61 people here. Somebody has to know. What did we truly know? Except that there have been photos of a crime scene leaked. I'm serious. Somebody needs to help me here. Did we know? Did we know anything? Did we have any actual report from a law enforcement agency? And I'm truly asking because I don't know. And this is about this narrative that they have put out there. It was surreal to be kind of blowing the whistle on the leak, both law enforcement and defense team, with both the law enforcement and defense team. Becoming involved seemed necessary, owing to the massive amount of harm that the publication of leaked discovery materials. What are you talking about? I'm not kidding. What are you talking about? I need somebody to tell me actually what they're talking about though. Can somebody do a quick Bing or a Google? Where's my oh God, all eyes? Where are you at? Where are you at, boo? What did we know at this time? There was no contempt filings. Ausbrook, if you're hiding, somebody, what did we know? In October, just 2 weeks after the leak, what public information was out there? No, they can't. And I love you, shabugs, but no, they can't. And this is why. It's an abomination. But I'm trying to understand what they knew and how much they provided. So there's this trove of information, right? It's pretty weird the situation. Incendiary materials were going around the internet. Okay. All right. Let's see what else I have to say. And so the original leaker was a former employee of Andrew Baldwin's. Okay, so I think we did know this from some of the initial hearings, right? So when, or from emails or something like that, that Baldwin had said that Westerman came in and said, I took these photos. Here's the thing though, and this is something I got into a little bit on the Twitter machine, and I'm not going to entertain anything having to do with any other evidence than the evidence that was entered. Let me see if I can find it. Thank God. Yeah. Would you chat with me? Because I'm struggling here. Because I'm really, I've read this, but I haven't really read it with in parallel to McClelland's filing. But see, okay. Okay, so here's another thing too, is that they're making statements here that based on what? So the original leaker was a former employee. That's not true, right? So we know that unless they're suggesting that in 2020, in January of 2023, Mitch Westerman leaked them on YouTube to the degree that the prosecutors notified the Delphi police. So if that's what they're alleging, so he wouldn't be the original leaker. Language matters, right? Okay, I'm gonna send you. Hang on, please stand by one moment. Because, Jesus Christ. Hang on, let me remove. So, Mar, what's not true? Let's see. Tell me what's not true so I know what I'm talking about. Speculation. Okay, Anna, I remember Greenlee saying because of his law license, he could see more than the. Oh, God. What? Okay, sorry, I just remember Greenlee saying because of his law license, he could see more than the general public. Wow, that's a problem. Right, Mitch, yeah, no, of course not. But that's what I'm saying, right? So let me put this back up here. Greenlee saying that because he has a law license, he did say that. Okay, well, that's interesting because that puts him in an even bigger pickle because he was a party to the case in 2023. I know. Yeah, I know. But listen, sake of argument, he's placed himself in a position. Look, I gotta get this guy a goddamn link. Hold on a second. That's for Ausbrook, Ausbrook only. It's in the chat because I don't know how to send it otherwise. Whatever, I don't care. Let me see. I don't know, man. Yeah, let me see. So I want to go back again to this. Do you know, Anna, when you write this, when did he say that? I'm just curious about that. Yeah, that's going way back. Right. Well, that's the other thing. They were, and listen, okay. Yeah. Hang on. Oh, I think Michael's back on my back burner here. Hello? You're muted, Ausbrook. Hello? Who's that? Ausbrook? I don't know. I see somebody backstage, but we'll see. Well, I'm trying to, but you know. Hello?
I'm here.
Why is your little thing not there? Your little Baron. The
I
red
don't have any idea.
Okay. So few things. I know that this is becoming a confusing mess, but that's because my brain hurts. So you and I have talked about some stuff. As far as, can you guys hear Michael? Hello? I hope
I'm
so.
here.
I know you are. I can hear you. I just was asking the folks. So I was just reading through this and something occurred to me, and maybe you can help me because I know that you did work with the contempt stuff. But in I was reading this article, as you probably saw, um, from October of 2023, that was an interview with Kevin and Anya, who, we know supplied or turned over the evidence of the leak, but they're just full on saying things that leap to the conclusion that this trove of documents, and they make it sound like there's a trove of documents that was turned over to them by Mark Robert Cohen, that they say just straight up came from Mitch Westerman. Now, we know that Mitch Westerman at that point, so we have to cast our mind back for a second to the fact that we know that there were already crime scene photos out there earlier that year and that they were reported by Brett Talley to Delphi. So we know that this was not an original leak, and Nick McClellan should have known that it was not an original leak, because one would suspect that Delphi police would let Mr. McClellan know. So I'm establishing that as sort of my footing. Okay. So Murder Sheet is then saying they were thrust in the middle of this because they received these documents, right? They received these documents from Mitch Westerman, and it was a trove of documents. And they turned them over, and they found themselves in the middle of this major leak that they felt they had to put themselves in the middle of. But what we know from what was publicly available, I think, was that Mr. Westerman had said to Mr. Baldwin, yes, I did this thing. I came in and I took photos of photos, not the actual photos, but the photos of the photos. I did that thing. What the leap then is being made here, and the narrative that then is absorbed into a filing by Mr. McClellan in February or in January of 2024, is that the totality of whatever they got from Mark Robert Cohen came from Mitch Westerman and the defense. So I don't know how they verified that. I don't know then, and nothing is made clearer by McClellan's filing. But what everything that they're alleging, or what they're stating as fact in their interviews, on their podcast, everything that has to do with this leak that they put all down to Mr. Westerman, makes its way into filings made by Nick McClellan, and then trying to be shoehorned then into the contempt hearing. Thoughts? So what I'm trying to do, Michael, is understand if the state did, because I want to, because to me this is about holding the state accountable and whatever. So Murder Sheet, they're gross. All these players, whatever. But it's on the state, it falls on the government to know, or should have known, to have done their due diligence before they bring a contempt charge within, as you know, the turducken of it all, of Mr. Allen's case, and what impact that has on his rights in the course of his murder case. So it doesn't seem to me, based on my reading and my understanding of what the Murder Sheet portrayed as the absolute truth, and what made it into Nick's filing are pretty much the same. I don't see evidence in the transcripts. Have you had a chance to kind of look through any of this stuff?
Yeah, I've looked through the transcripts.
Thoughts?
Doesn't mean I'm not. I've looked through the transcripts. I'm not a master of them, but I've looked through them.
Well, let's start with this then. So, knowing what we know about how this was reported, and it was reported by the murder sheet, right? I mean, and we do know that there were subsequent, admissions and conversations about the leak between Nick McClellan and, the judge, and everybody became aware of it. So we do know that happened. But you want to go in the closet? God damn it, my cat. So let's start with the filing that Nick made on, hang on, I'll pull it up. Let me pull it up for a second. From February. It's a January filing. January. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
The contempt information?
Yeah. You and I were just talking about that a little bit. Let me see. So I'm going to pull it up.
I mean, it's out there in public that he almost certainly lied in that about October 4th.
Okay, so let's get. So let me pull it up so we can go through this. Verified motion of contemptuous conduct. Okay. Let me pull this up because I'm trying to figure this out here. That's not it. So we'll look at that. Stop screen, share screen. Here we go. Okay. I believe this is it. Can you see this? Let me put this on the stage.
I'm on my phone, so I'm not going to be able to read it.
That's fine. But I will read a headline here. Comes now, state of Indiana prosecuting attorney. Oh, yes, I've made some modifications. I started crossing out stuff because I was so angry. Comes now, state of Indiana, verified. So by Nicholas McClellan, and brings his court's attention as an officer of the court, verified information of contemptuous conduct. Tell me what that means exactly. So when you file something like, I'm serious, when you file something as an officer of the court, a verified information of contemptuous conduct, you are in fact attesting to the you're attesting to the truthfulness of what you're putting in this document. Is that right?
But to the best of your knowledge, yes.
Okay. And so when we come down to, so he goes through, and I've crossed it out because it made me so mad. Sorry, I have to put my cat in the closet. Come here, sweetie. Come here. She likes to go up in the closet. So he goes through this litany of things that are inconsequential. He goes through how Judge Gull ordered, a gag order, and then he said that here's the press release that Rosie and Baldwin, nothing having to do with contempt at all. The first page and a half is all bullshit. So I crossed that out of my own volition because I can't stand it. But where there's like two paragraphs down here that do seem to make, oops, trying to get this to go larger, that do seem to make the case, the only case that he's bringing. Here we go. October 2023, the state was made aware by the families of the victims, that the photos will leak to the public. Okay?
Yeah, the photos, whatever the photos are, that's obviously a question. And
That's one of the questions, right?
well, I mean, I think it's the question that leads to pretty much everything else. And
Hmm.
uh, you're kind of working forward, and let me distract for a minute
Yes.
and suggest that, and we will work back almost immediately to where you are. But
Okay.
there are three things about the contempt hearing. One, so it should not have been admitted, but the affidavit of Mitch Westerman was admitted. It's something
Yes.
he sent into the court. I think Dave Hennessy asked that, or McClellan asked that judicial notice be taken of it. I don't know about, I think it was actually entered as an exhibit at the end.
Okay.
But the only thing that exhibit said was, I took pictures of pictures.
Yes, correct.
That
There's
then
no elaboration on any, and I just want to make a point of this because I did see that there was no elaboration on it. Or there was nothing like, here's what it was, blah, 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 blah. So you're right.
then
Yes.
then there is absolutely nothing in the hearing. So the pictures that were admitted were State's Exhibit 5.
Correct. And that I just want to make a statement here because there's people that are getting confused about what I'm focusing on. And what I'm focusing on is Exhibit 5, nothing else. So go ahead. Nothing else right now. So go ahead.
And there is literally nothing that ties the pictures Mitch Westerman said he took
Hmm.
to the pictures in Exhibit 5.
Except the word of Murder Sheet and Jerry Holman. That's what
Jerry
ties
Holman,
it.
there is not. I mean, Holman has nothing that says, and there is something that highly suggests that the pictures. So we only know of something about one of the pictures. Well, actually, we know, I think, something about two. So there was one side by side of something, and there was another picture
But
that
this is, let's talk about, is this still in 5? Is this still in 5?
all the pictures are in 5.
Okay. But
And
we know, but we kind of know what was in 5, don't we?
not really. And I mean, we don't know whether they were bodies. We might know what the side by side is of, but what we do know is that at least, so Brad Rosie had never seen one of the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether it's the same picture he'd never seen before, but we also know that one of the pictures had both a rectangular and an oval redaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that from Holman that the defense used oval redactions in his depositions, and that the state, he doesn't say where, but the state used rectangular redactions.
Isn't that
I don't know
interesting?
whether it's in deposition, but we don't know whether the pictures, and it seems unlikely to me, but so the pictures with redactions, at least to the extent they have ovals, would have been in the state's possession because they were used at Holman's deposition. And
Okay.
that means they were not exclusively in Brad Neal's possession, but it
Can I ask
also
you a
means,
question?
yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, let me ask you a question right there. Because so in a deposition, now are those materials provided to the state so they're in their possession or are they like brought in a briefcase by the law by Baldwin and Rosie? Or is it something that would be in their possession for a protracted period of time?
It would be permanently in their possession because what
Okay.
happened is, I mean, Holman refused to sign his deposition, right? Because he said there were things in there that were beyond
Yes.
an act. I mean, actually, that was a deposition for the contempt hearing he wouldn't sign. I don't know about the earlier depositions but
Right.
the earlier depositions. So I I mean, as I understood it, that these pictures were used as exhibits at
Yes.
his depositions,
Hmm.
which means the pictures would have been included with the deposition. I mean, they're attached to the deposition, and both parties get the deposition. So both parties would have the deposition and the attached exhibits.
Let me see here. Hold on. But let me, okay, so let me do this because
And the further point I wanted to make was, I mean, we don't know, but it seems highly unlikely that the pictures laid out on the table that Westerman took pictures of would have been the redacted deposition pictures. They almost certainly would have been originals. I mean, I don't know, but
yes, I agree.
uh, and so the whole premise that these pictures came from, I mean, there's just nothing in the hearing that says these pictures in Exhibit 5 came from Westerman. We have
Right.
Westerman took pictures, and here are pictures.
Right.
There's nothing saying these are the pictures he took.
And my suggestion is that Nick McClellan and Jerry Holman knew that and went ahead with it anyway.
Highly possible. I mean, it's absolutely possible. I mean, and it's possible.
I've seen, but the thing is, here's why. I don't even know if that's speculation. I just don't think that they ever said it out loud. I don't think that they were able to make that connection in when Hennessy, and we'll go into it, but I honestly don't think that they made, I think that they inferred it. And that inference was all that was, it was like this, it was like they waved a little bit of, I don't know. It's just, it was I know you appreciate this, a soupçon, if you will, of evidence that was not really tied together. It was, I don't know. Yeah, it's like Holman couldn't completely lie because I don't know. I got to think about this for a minute.
Well, and it's possible when you say, you think Holman and McClellan knew this. It's possible that only Holman knew it, and that McClellan
Yeah,
didn't know enough about his case.
but that
Uh,
doesn't matter, right? Legally. For Mr.
well,
Allen. For Mr.
well,
Allen.
it does. It does. Well, so this. No, not for a state interference with counsel claim, but if McClellan didn't know, then his stuff filed under penalty for perjury is to the best of his knowledge, except it is public. And it's only hearsay, but it's public that he was upset about the pictures no later than September 30th, whereas I believe under oath, he may not say October 4th, he might have said early October. is when he learned about the existence of the pictures, and we know that it was earlier than that.
Right. So I mean, so but that's the thing. It's like we know that. Is that something that he would have had to disclose? I mean, I mean, to be honest, he said that the families told him. What? Where
Yeah,
did
well,
that come
yeah,
from?
it may be the families told him. I don't know, and
Okay.
maybe it's altogether. I'm just saying that before you go back to the information, if you keep the three things in mind that I was suggesting that come out of the hearing, namely Westerman's affidavit, I took pictures, Exhibit 5, pictures with redactions. Actually, it's four things: pictures with redactions. Pictures with redactions came from depositions, and nothing ties the Westerman pictures to the pictures in Exhibit 5. Not a good look.
Well, but the thing is that there's not a good look. Oh, what happened to my picture? Um, uh, hang on. Um, there's not a good look, and then there's actionable things, right? So, um, hang on. I'm
Well,
just going.
they're actionable things subject to proof.
Right. Um, I'm just going through.
I mean,
So,
I went through a whole live with Angela Sedlowski about the case that could be made that the leaked pictures came from elsewhere, but all of that was what I said was it's at least as good a case as the case McClelland made based on all kinds of inadmissible hearsay. Um, you know the case I made that the leaked pictures came from elsewhere was also based on hearsay, internet screen clips,
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
and and if the people were telling the truth in these things, like you know Gary Baudet saying, for example, it doesn't matter where the pictures came from, it's a win.
Right. Right.
Um, and
So,
the only thing, as far as I can tell from what you've been saying, the only connection between Westerman and any pictures, anything that came from Cohen, is murder sheets say so.
right.
I mean, I don't know. There's nothing in the hearing that Cohen told
Right.
Holman he got them from Westerman. So it's all it's all a hearsay turducken.
Yes. So I pulled up. So let me just go through a little bit of this, and I want you to we're just going to go through Jerry's testimony because I think that this is instructive. So McClelland just runs through how he's been a great, law enforcement officer, blah, 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 who gives a shit. Okay. I want to take you back to October, at the beginning of October in 2023. Do you recall that time? So this is McClelland questioning him. Yes, I do. And what happened at the beginning of October 2023? I received a phone call from you stating that you had received information from Becky Patty, who is a grandmother and legal guardian of Liberty German, that crime scene photos were being leaked. Question. And once you were told of that information, what did you do next? Answer. I started inquiring on what type of photos were leaked and tried to find out where they were being leaked from. Question, what did you do first in finding out about this information? Question, well, I received a phone call from Anya and Kevin. Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, who said they also received the photos, and they described those photos to me over the phone. Question, when those photos were described to you, Were you familiar with the photos they were talking about? Answer, yes, I was. Question, how were you familiar with those photos? Answer, one of the descriptions of the photos was that one that Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie showed me in a deposition. Question, what was unique enough about them that you could tell the photo was from the description? Answer, it was a side-by-side that I'd never seen before that day it was created, obviously by the defense attorneys, and I recall seeing it that day. And that's the only time I ever saw the photo. So now here we have Holman saying that through a phone identification, which is akin to ballistics evidence provided by Oberg, he's saying that he identified through a phone call the veracity of the truthiness of where this came from. So he determined at that moment, from what he's testifying to, from Murder Sheet's description, that nailed him.
Well, I mean, I mean, not as conclusive thing, and maybe those, maybe there was a side by side in Exhibit 5. And
hang on, but this is hang on. We haven't even gotten to that. We're in Jerry's investigatory stage.
Yeah, I'm hanging on, but what I want to say is we don't know from that. We don't know from that whether that side by side he was, quote, shown at a deposition was also entered as an exhibit at the deposition.
Okay, got it. Okay. So that
I would think, I mean, generally speaking, you wouldn't show somebody a picture and ask them questions about it without entering the picture as an exhibit. Now, because the crime scene photos had been sealed, I mean, Brad and Andy did some pretty funky stuff with filings.
Yeah.
Worried about things. So maybe they said, I haven't seen the deposition. Maybe they decided because they've been sealed, they weren't going to attach these to the deposition. On the other hand, unless you're going to include them as exhibits, why would you put redactions on them? Now, the other thing is we don't know whether the side-by-side, we don't know what the side-by-side was of, I don't think, and we don't know whether the side-by-side had redactions.
Right. Right. But so you're talking, so let's trudge on, because the thing is that he's identifying the photos from a description that he directly connects to a deposition, and what you just said is we don't know what's in that deposition. So but let me go on here. And so from the description of those individuals you talked to, you recognize the photo was something the defense has created. Answer, yes. Question, what did you do next? Answer, I believe I called you back to let you know there was more than just what Becky Patty had told you. Question, and from there, where did the investigation lead you? Answer, I talked again to Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, who said they knew who sent the photos. Question, and who sent them? Answer, Mr. Cohen. Question, and did you speak to Mr. Cohen? Answer, later I did. Here we got Hennessy, objection, hearsay, violation of the right.
I mean, it's a little late with the hearsay.
Well, and it's overruled, of course. Question, did you speak to Mr. Cohen? Answer, I did later, but before that, I got more information from Anya and Kevin. They stated that hold on, Mr. Hennessy, objection. What did he say? Did you stop him there? Yes. Okay. Anyway, whatever. There's some weird sidebar from Hennessy. Then we go on to, I got more information from Anya and Kevin. And when I spoke to Anya and Kevin, did you get documents from them? Answer, yes. What documents did you get from them? There were several documents that were screenshots they received from Mr. Cohen with communication with Mr. Fortson. Question, okay, did you receive any pictures from them? Answer, yes. Question, and what picture did you receive from them? Answer, the pictures they stated Mr. Cohen sent them. Question, and when you got the pictures, did you recognize the photos? Yes, I did. And I don't want you to go into detail, but what were the photos of? Answer, some of them were the crime scene that, again, I knew had to come from the defense attorney because one of them was of Liberty and her private parts were blacked out and they used a circle. And in all the ones that we use, for any type of reasons, we use rectangles. And then I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defense Exhibit 5. Mr. Hennessy, yeah, there you go. Can you look at these documents? First picture, no, just this group. I'm sorry. Oh, bad question. Okay. Can you tell the court as a group what those documents are? So we have no, okay. Photos that I received from Kevin and Anya. Question. And what do those photos show? Answer. Crime scene photos. Some pictures are of drawings of the crime scene. Question. And do you recognize these photos? Answer. Yes, I do. Question. How do you recognize these photos? Again, they're crime scene photos and also photos that were presented to me in depositions. So now he's expanded the pool. Okay. Judge, I'm going to ask the court to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 5. I'm going to ask the court to admit those under seal. They're graphic crime scene photos. I did not transmit those to the defense. I told Mr. Hennessy I was not going to transmit those to him. Thoughts at this point, Michael?
Well, one, there's certainly nothing that ties the drawing to the defense. Apparently, there's a drawing of the crime scene. There's nothing that ties that to the defense at all.
Right.
That's not a photo of a photo. That's a photo of a drawing. Unless there was some photo, and I mean, look, we don't know what it is, but there's just nothing that's not rank hearsay that ties Westerman to any of these pictures.
So Mr. Hennessy goes on. I need to see them. Mr. McClellan, let me look at them. I've never received these copies. I have no reason to object to them being placed under seal. Jesus. 5 is admitted without objection. No, I need to see the exhibit. You asked if I object to them being sealed. I'm going to make sure what it is that I'm shown before they weren't given. Show him the photos. He looks at them. No objection, Judge. Okay, great. So he says, right. Now, Mr. Holman, if you recall, were those the photos you received from Miss Kane, or sorry, the individuals, Kevin and Anya? Answer, no. What? Wait. If you recall, what?
Didn't he a moment ago? Didn't he say a moment ago? Yes.
Yeah. Hang on. Okay, wait a minute. Oh my God. Okay. Now, Mr. Holman, if you recall, were those all? Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Were those all the photos that you received from Kane? Blah blah blah. No. Okay. Sorry. Okay, those are just the ones admitted are just a portion of those. Answer, yes. Okay, once again, the one specifically of the crime scene depicting Liberty, was that something law enforcement created? No. Question, and how did you know that? Like I said earlier, we use rectangles to block out the private parts, and that one had a rectangle and a circle. So I knew it was not produced by any of us. Question, when you saw that photo, did you recognize it though? Yes. Where did you recognize it?
Here's the thing about the rectangle and the circle or oval.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, he said earlier, we used rectangle. When we were using a picture, we used rectangle to block stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Something that has a rectangle and an oval, if he's right that the defense used ovals and law enforcement used rectangles, what that seems to mean, and maybe that's the side by side, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But what So that could be it's not an original picture. It was something somebody used for some reason, deposition or other, to show somebody.
Or
The
leaked
other
prior
thing,
to
the
this.
other, well, yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying is that the redaction comes, he seems to say that they redact them when they're using them for something. So,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, they have originals, and by the way, there probably wouldn't be printouts. And this is one reason I don't think there were any redactions on whatever Mitch Westerman was photographing, because the redactions would have been computer generated. I guess you'd print them to show them, you know, the defense would print a copy to put in with the deposition, but in general, you wouldn't have printed copies
Right.
of the redacted pictures lying around. You'd have the originals, and you'd have computer files with the redacted versions to print out as needed. But what I wanted to say about the one that has the oval and the rectangle is that that was some sort of composite that could have been created either by the defense. So the defense has a picture, a redacted picture with a rectangle from law enforcement, and they put it together with one of their ovals. But it could have been the other way around as well.
Mm-hmm.
That they that law enforcement had a picture from the defense with an oval, and they put it together with the rectangle.
Right. Well, and I think go ahead.
No, that's just me being tedious.
No. I think the thing, the key takeaway is that there's no linkage there. So, you know, there's no there's no metadata. There's no, I mean, uh, if there is, they certainly didn't um, argue that in court. They didn't say that we've checked the metadata of these photographs to make sure they're even from Mark Robert Cohen. I mean, that's the thing. It's like and I get what you're saying about hearsay within hearsay, and that's what it is. And so it's a stack of cards from that perspective. But
It's triple
if
here.
we,
It's double here. It's not. Yeah. It's
yeah,
so it's murder sheet saying we got these from Cohen.
mhm,
That's so anything Cohen said to the murder sheet. Murder sheet's not there. So
right.
what murder sheet told Holman is hearsay.
Hmm.
Anything Cohen told murder sheet is hearsay, and basically anything Cohen told is hearsay. I mean, there's
Well, and
possibly
for
triple
and
hearsay.
Fort and Fortson. So from the thing is that, but okay. So the I don't even know. Uh,
The fundamental deal here is that there is no way with admissible evidence. This is a criminal trial. There is no way with admissible evidence without Westerman's testimony, Nick McClellan could have made this case. No way.
well, and what I'm going one step further in saying, and I'm sitting here going through the transcript, literally, literally everything is, and so you got this from Anya and Kevin, and so you got this from Kevin and Anya. I don't know how this was acceptable. Was it because, and here's a question, another question, right? Is did did they did Nick McClellan take Kevin's word for it because he's an attorney?
You know, if you're going to file a criminal case, which a case for criminal contempt kind of is. I mean, the cases say criminal contempt is sui generis, but all the
Mhm.
protections, all the criminal protections, all the constitutional criminal protections apply, uh, except kind of for sentencing. Uh,
But do you
in a
understand what I'm
criminal in a criminal case, you can't just take somebody's word for it. I mean, you don't look. Prosecutors don't generally file criminal cases that they don't think they have the evidence to make. Now, the case against Rick Allen is a wild exception, and he lucked out. He got the jury of his dreams.
yeah.
Um, uh, but you can't. You can't just say, "Oh, Kevin Greenlee told me these came from Mitch Westerman," except Greenlee didn't even say that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I I don't. I think is he relying on some sort of inference that these came from the defense because Holman can say the defense showed me these,
Right.
um, and that doesn't follow.
Mm-mm.
Especially if they were in a deposition. I mean, somebody could have leaked the deposition with the exhibits,
Oh, any of,
and
I
that's
mean,
not
yeah.
Western.
Right.
Then that's not
Right.
Western, and that could have come from law enforcement. I mean, that could have come
Uh-huh.
from Holman. I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, it's there's just nothing tying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he's trying to make the inference, that's the other thing. Not only is Westerman's not only is Westerman's affidavit hearsay,
Hmm.
you know, the one where he said I took pictures.
Right.
Um,
Took photos of
it,
pictures. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I took pictures of pictures. Uh, it is irrelevant with respect to the contempt claim made out of Exhibit 5.
Mhm.
The only inference, you know, if Jerry Holman says, yeah, I recognized one of these as having come from the defense because they showed it to me at a deposition, um, you'd want to know more, but I mean, you can make the inference, I suppose, that it came from the defense, but you can't make the inference that that came from Westerman.
Right. That's yes. Right. Right.
And but there's no other evidence of any quote leak from the
Right.
defense. And the other thing people have to maybe should be aware of is that there was only, well, there may have been more than one leak, but the way leak is talked about is
Mhm.
every time this thing is passed along to somebody else, it's a leak. That's not true. There was one leak, maybe more
Sure.
before, but once they're out, it's no longer a leak. It's
Right.
just people sharing photos.
Right.
I mean, you know, if Fortson sent pictures to Cohen, that's not a leak.
Right. Right.
And there's and nothing. I mean, the U.S. Supreme Court's clear about this. If you're not involved in the illegality of getting something drops into your lap, you are absolutely free to do what the hell you want with it. The case involves the leak of secret grand jury testimony in the Supreme Court. I don't remember the name of the case, but you know, if you're not the person or weren't involved in illegally getting the grand jury transcript
Hmm.
that's secret, that by law cannot be made public. Once it's been made public, the cat's out of the bag, and you're free to do what the hell you want with it.
Shit's out of the horse.
Yeah, yeah. Pomme de cheval.
Oh my God. Jesus wept. Okay,
Just,
but here's
just a soupçon.
a soup song. Okay, so but here's a question, and this is the question that I think that I come back to. So I got real pissed off at the murder sheet at the upfront of this bizarre live, but it's ultimately to me about what's the level of accountability and what if anything can be done here with this, because it was filed. And there's a question, if we can pop a hole in this contempt case, and it's from Free Ricky Bay, does that flip the entire conviction, considering the contempt case was held inside? And I think this is a good question. If we can pop a hole in the contempt case, does that flip the entire conviction, considering the contempt case was held inside the criminal case under the same case number? And I think that's a fair question, and I think you're the
I don't
right
think
one.
it matters. I don't think it matters that it was inside the. I mean, it makes it worse maybe that it was inside the criminal and inside Rick Allen's criminal case, but it's clearly state interference with counsel. I mean, if these people knew this was total horse poop,
Mhm.
then all they did was distract the. I mean, it's interfered with Brad and Andy's ability to focus on the defense of Rick. Suddenly, they become criminal defendants,
Right.
and
Right.
done by the prosecutor in the case. I mean, that's really bad. And it's also why there should have been. It should have been. Look, there should have been a different judge. There should have been a special
Yeah.
prosecutor to look at it. I'm
Well,
convinced the special prosecutor would have dismissed it immediately.
of course, of course. But did they? So here's the other thing too, though. I think that they asked for a continuance. Did they ask for a special judge? Did they ask for it to be
Yeah.
separated?
No, at the beginning of the hearing, I believe Hennessy says you can't do this, and we need another judge. And Gull said no to. I mean, Hennessy handed Gull state court administration's bench cards. The
Yeah.
state court administration provides advice to all the judges around the state, and they have what are known as bench cards for various issues. And basically, and the bench card said in very succinct terms everything I kind of babbled about over 8 pages and
Mm-hmm.
almost older than dirt thing.
Yeah.
In other words, they did it, I think, without that. They said you got to do this, and this, indirect contempt, separate case, new judge, the whole thing. And it was especially true in this case because, in a way, I mean, Gull was theoretically a witness in this case too. He wasn't
How,
called, but
how so? How so?
well, because she's in on the. I mean, her testimony may not have been absolutely necessary, but don't forget, there's the email on the record.
Oh, yes.
There's the email on the record saying, "I'm going to hold all these folks in contempt if they don't destroy their images. They're not press. They have no special protections." And she had utterly no power to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I mean, that's one of the reasons I lay Fortson's death at her feet, because without that,
Oh,
now
Jesus.
she didn't speak to Holman, but that empowered McClelland to tell Jerry you can threaten with the judge.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
was.
if there is no contempt threat out there, if he can't threaten people going to jail, and they're still threatening people over leaked photos going to jail.
Really? Because they're online. I saw some online on Facebook yesterday that were posted.
Well, remember what McClellan said at the end of the famous press conference, famous press conference after Rick's sentencing. I don't think it was after the conviction, but it was after the sentencing where he said, people leak these pictures. We're going to prosecute them to the extent the law permits. Now, what he's not saying is the law doesn't permit.
Right.
And it's a totally idle threat. I mean, I'm not saying, publicly sharing the pictures is a good
I
thing, but
know.
there's nothing they can do.
Right.
Literally nothing.
Well, but the thing is that, yeah. And so I get so aggravated at the misrepresentation of what the law and the threats and the constant barrage against the public in this case by the state. It's never ending and it's ongoing, because, they just got whatever the what did they
I mean,
get?
if I'd been the prosecutor, I would have said, that I implore anyone who has these pictures not to share them.
Sure. Yes.
I can't do anything about it, and I implore everyone else, if someone starts sharing them,
Mhm.
just to get it to stop. But that's it. I mean, that's all they can do. I mean, I hate to be giving the world legal advice here, but it's just utterly obvious that
Mhm.
leaked photos fall into your lap. There is nothing the state can do about it.
So, okay.
Somebody's dead because somebody is dead because Holman went and represented, saying, "Oh, the judge isn't going to be happy." Blah 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 blah. Jail. I mean, there was no
Okay.
threat.
Okay.
There was legally no threat that could be made.
Of course not. Now, I will say this. We do not know the minds of people, and I do not look, that man, we don't know what was going on in his life.
No. And I'm not
So
saying
let's be real clear
Gall.
about that.
No.
Okay.
Look, he was empowered by McClellan to say that, who was empowered by Gull to say that. And I'm not saying Gull intended anyone die. What I'm saying is judges purporting to exercise power they don't have, that has consequences.
Yeah.
And yes, they're not necessarily foreseeable, but
There are consequences nonetheless.
and 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 look, if she'd had the power to do it, oh well, I mean, that's just the way the system works. But it isn't the way the system works, and somebody's dead in large measure because she purported to have authority she did not have.
Well, okay. So here, let me just throw this out here for you though. So law enforcement is allowed to lie. What's to say Holman wasn't just straight up lying to Fortson? We honestly, like seriously, we don't honestly know. After seeing Holman, uh, interrogate Mr. Allen, I'm not entirely convinced. Look, I'm spitballing, but I don't think he's above board. I mean, but so I don't suppose to know who he called, if he called anybody, if he was putting on a show and was pressuring this guy to try to get information out of him. So we don't really even know that, do
Here's the
we?
He wouldn't be saying the judge is going to be unhappy if he hadn't been told by McClellan about what Gull had said about contempt. He just wouldn't.
Said about contempt for what? When?
So in the email, which is part of the record,
Okay,
original
got it.
action 2,
Yes. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. I'm so let me just see again here. So I'm trying to go back to what Hennessy, because Hennessy tries to rally here a little bit. Mm, 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 mm. So again, he's just going through and bloviating. Now, States Exhibit 6, which I don't know anything about.
Well, I
Do
don't
you
know.
know?
We were talking about the 272 pages, and I don't know whether that is States Exhibit 6 or not, but it might be.
Okay. Okay. So what we've now determined is that okay, with if we look at Exhibit 5 only and everything that's been represented, because they're getting ready to move on to Exhibit 6. So Exhibit 5 is what would have to happen in order to show or to, okay, is there action that can be taken outside of the appellate process if, in fact, say there was an affidavit or some sort of proof that this was not, that if there was proof that McClellan and Holman or the state misrepresented what they put into evidence as having been tied directly to the defense through Westerman or whatever that bullshit was. If that can be proved to be false, what then can happen outside of an appeal for Mr. Allen? Is there recourse?
I think it has to go to, well, it depends on who knew what, but, if people knew that this was horse poop,
Mhm.
then there's absolutely a post-conviction claim for state interference with counsel, I would think. Now, there are cases in Indiana that say state interference with counsel has to come from a court order, but I don't think that's right. And there's nothing in U.S. Supreme Court precedent that says it has to come from an order that I know of.
Mhm.
Um, I, I don't know how falsely prosecuting the lawyers you're opposing in a criminal case is not state interference with counsel. Nick McClellan represents the state.
Yes.
That is the state interfering with counsel. I mean, it's just, that's all. I mean, it's just like Gall telling the lawyers to stop work for 2 weeks or a week, however long it was. So she told them after the leak, and this is in original action 2 as well. There's the email where she tells them we're going to have a hearing on October, whatever it is, 19th or something, and
Mhm.
the 12th. And she tells them not to work on the case between now and then. She has no power. Look, she may have limited power to remove them. I don't think so, but especially when they show up on their own. But without a hearing, to tell the defense lawyers to stop working on a case, in what world is that? Is that okay?
Uh, the Indiana world?
Well, I'm hoping it's an issue that Mark and Stacy raised.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well,
that's state
but,
interference with counsel. Game over.
and when you say game over, what does that mean?
It means a new trial
Okay. And does that
without having
mean,
without having without having to show prejudice.
yeah. And so that it's so okay. It's so confusing because of the way, well, it's confusing for many reasons, but I think that it's confusing because there are so many issues to tease out. I mean, this is like I'm just trying to focus on, we're trying to focus on at the moment, this one exhibit that was entered. And there's all these other questions, tentacles, if you will, that come out of this because because it's so, now this is a technical term, but it's so jacked up
Well,
because
one of the things that's interesting, of course, is Holman says whatever's in Exhibit 5 is not all the pictures he got.
yeah, they go
So,
on to Exhibit 6. So I don't know. Here's what I'm spitballing, but maybe they did Exhibit 5 under seal because it was crime scene photos, right? And then the rest of what they got from the murder sheet, which was the totality of Jerry's investigation, which I suggest is acting as, I mean, I wonder if they got a paycheck. But anyway, maybe in 6, when they go into offering State's Exhibit 6. Do you know how many pages are in 6? Mr. Hennessy says. Do you remember how many pages you received from the murder sheet people? Answer, I don't know the number. No. Hennessy. And then, so State's Exhibit 6 reveals conversations between 2 people. Yes, Mr. Hennessy. Is Mr. Fortson deceased? Pardon me? Is Mr. Fortson deceased? Yes, he is. Hennessy. Judge, I object to hearsay. It's impossible for the defense to be able to cross-examine and confront the speakers. This is clearly communication between 2 people, neither of whom are available for cross-examination. Any response? McClellan, Judge, the state does not believe it's hearsay. It's not going to the truth of the matter of the content of the statements. It's going, what? Wait, hold on. It's going to show there was a conversation and that there was a continued leak. If the court does deem it hearsay, I believe there's an exception. If the court reads through the documents and reads through the statements in the document, there are several messages where Fortson says or asks Cohen to protect him from distributing information and to delete messages once he knows the investigation starts. And so clearly, statements against interest in terms of trying to delete those messages and to hide evidence so the state would ask to overrule the objection. What?
yeah, well, again, I mean, unless Fortson was involved in the illegality, which I
Oh
don't
my
think he was,
God.
they're not
I
statements
don't
against
either.
interest because there's nothing, there are no statements against interest because there's nothing he can be prosecuted for. I mean, it's the whole
Uh,
thing is a fairy tale, and it always was. And
none of
I'll be
these in
happy to I'll be happy to be proved wrong by seeing what's in, Exhibit 5. But the fact that so this whole bunch of pictures is dumped on Holman, and they pick out a few to put in Exhibit 5. Like, where did the others come from? I mean,
after
where did
receiving
the
this,
others come
but
from?
I'm getting ready to tell you. You want to hear? Do you have a guess?
Oh, I'm sure it was from everybody's K&A 5 and dime store.
Right. But that's my point, is that the point I was making at the upfront is that the state did not do an investigation. The murder sheet, acting in their capacity as a journalist and an attorney, as they say in their lead, conducted an investigation that they concluded within 2 weeks and turned it over, and Jerry Holman and Nick McClellan took it as gospel. And so what Nick McClellan is saying, that it's not hearsay because it's not going to the truth of the matter. What? But your entire, everything that Jer Bear just said, you're trying, what? So they go on though. You may perceive it's over objection. Of course it is. What did you do next in your investigation? After receiving this information, like I said, I did, oh, here we go. Did anybody know this? I did an audio videotape statement of Mr. Kane. Sorry, excuse me, or Miss Kane and Mr. Greenlee. And then I contacted Robert Cohen. Did anybody know That they were videotaped? I didn't know that. Huh. Where the hell is that?
I don't know. I don't know whether Dave Hennessy has that or not.
What the shit? Oh. Oh my God. Okay. Then I contacted Robert Cohen. Did you interview him as well? Yes. Then he talked to Rick Snay and blah, blah, blah. Okay. After you did that, Snay told me he received objection, hearsay. Then he gets, I'm not going to get everybody else involved. Hold on. Here we go. So apparently, let's see. Objection, hearsay. Okay. So then the question from McClelland is, through your investigation, did you continue to gather information on the photos that were leaked? Yes. What was the purpose of interviewing these people to determine the source? Yes. What? Okay. And once you saw the messages from Mr. Fortson, did you attempt to interview him? Yes, I did. Did you attempt to interview him about things in that document? Yes. And did he give you any information? No. Did you attempt to subpoena Facebook records or get certified copies of those documents? We did. And when you examined his Facebook page, were those messages in there? I did not examine his Facebook messages, but Detective Rector did. Okay. He would be better. Okay. And after you attempted to interview Fortson, who did you interview next? I attempted to contact Mr. Westerman after I interviewed Mr. Fortson. And so the information that you got from the investigation at this point, where did it tell you the leak was coming from? Answer, Mr. Westerman. What? What? What evidence? He got no information. He just
what information?
said
Who's
he
yeah.
He got no information.
There is nothing. There is nothing
Jesus
in this
Christ.
record tying Exhibit 5, the pictures in Exhibit 5 to Mitch Westerman. Nothing.
Oh my God. I didn't even realize. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. The purpose of interviewing these people was to determine the source. Yes. And once you saw the messages from Mr. Fortson, did you attempt to interview him? Yes, I did. Did you attempt to interview him about things in the document? Yes. Did he give you any information? No. Did you attempt to subpoena his Facebook records and get a certified copy? We did. And when you examined his Facebook page, were those messages in there? I did not examine his Facebook pages, but Detective Rector did. Now, what's not clear to me is that, are you talking, Nick, about the Facebook records or taking a skim over his Facebook page? So we don't know. We'll have to go to Rector for that. Okay. You attempted to interview Fortson. Who did you interview next? I attempted to contact Mr. Westerman after I interviewed Fortson. Okay. And so the information you got from the investigation at this point, where did that tell you the leak was coming from? Answer, Mr. Westerman. Question, did you know who Mr. Westerman was? Answer, no, not at the time. Okay, did you investigate to find out who he was? Yes, I found out. Okay, but here's the thing. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is just, okay. Excuse me, Mr. Hennessy bumps in here. Excuse me, preliminary question. Court, yes. When you say you found out, did somebody tell you stuff? Answer, I did some investigation on my own. I'm sorry? I did some investigation on my own. Yeah, but what did you investigate, Mr. Hennessy asked. I mean, did you read documents or talk to people? Yes. Okay. I'd object as derivative hearsay, denial of right of confrontation. Any response? Mr. McClellan. Judge, I don't think it's hearsay for him to tell the court how he found out who Mr. Westerman was. I just don't think it was hearsay applies, Judge. So it's the court of, so here's the court. So it's course of investigation. There you go, Nick. Yes, Your Honor. Okay, overruled. So Mr. Hennessy says, I'm sorry.
And by the way, I've made this point before, but and Dave Hennessy makes the point too, although he's a little short on it. He says course of investigation hasn't been a hearsay exception in Indiana for 15 to 20 years. It's more like so at the time of this, it was more like 24 years. So 1999, a case called Craig v. State.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hang on. So Nicole's asking a question. Do we know about the subpoena, what was actually granted and returned? No, we have no idea about any of the subpoenas. We don't have any idea based on this, unless,
What subpoena?
well, they said that they tried to subpoena Facebook.
Oh, well, and they got the return. Yeah. I don't know I don't know whether Dave Hennessy has
They
Fortson's
didn't,
Facebook page.
but they didn't say that, is what I'm saying. So that's not what is said here. You examined his Facebook page. Now maybe Rector, maybe that's coming later. So we don't know. So the answer, Nicole, is if your question was the subpoena from Facebook, we don't know yet because
Well, no, doesn't he say certified copy?
all he says is that he asked for a certified copy. And then he goes on to say, hang on, so
And then
exactly
he
what he
says,
said.
and it says, yes, they got one.
Hang on. Hang on. Did you attempt to subpoena his Facebook records or get a certified copy of those documents? So did you attempt? We did. So that says we did attempt to do that, right?
Yeah, and he says they got one. So I don't know. I don't know what the.
My question is, did you attempt is different from did you get?
But I think he says later that they did get one.
I'm going to read you the total of what. Did you attempt to subpoena? The question is, did you attempt to get his subpoena Facebook records to get a certified copy of the documents? We did. So that to me answers, yes, we did attempt to do that. And when you examine and this is a question, when you examine his Facebook page, were those messages there? Answer, I did not examine his Facebook page, but Detective Rector did. Okay. That's it. Moving on. So we don't know. It might come, maybe Rector testifies to that. I have no idea. But but his Holman says that's clear as mud. He didn't review. I did not examine his Facebook messages. Detective Rector did. That's it. So, and maybe they did. I'm not saying they didn't, but you know.
Hey, I got to get going, I think.
Shit, man. Okay. I mean, I do too. So maybe that's, oh, all right. Goodbye. So yeah.
Hope I've been helpful, not merely tedious.
No, you're never tedious. I mean, to me, and you're not, but that's because you listen to me. So anyway, all right. I'll smell you later. Okay, so I'm gonna hang on for a second with these folks, but goodbye. Go do whatever it is you're gonna do with your life. Nope, there he goes. Okay, so we're gonna put a pin in that, folks. Let me see what y'all are saying. Let's see. The other day. So yes, it is bananas. I do believe they relied heavily on, yes, on Kevin and Anya. Everything that I have read so far, and All Eyes, Her Royal Highness, All Eyes has placed all of this into her. Um, it's in a GitHub, and everybody can read it for themselves. Everything in Exhibit 5, which is all that I'm focusing on for right now. Everything in Exhibit 5 is from Anya and Kevin. It just is. It's said over and over and over again. And I didn't even get to the cross-examination, but that is because I can't think to the next stage of this, because it's kind of like I've explained before about where I am with this case. Richard Allen did not get a fair trial. I don't get beyond that. I don't get beyond Exhibit 5 right now, because I believe, based on what the state has provided as their evidence, it is absolutely like they took notes or they downloaded the transcripts of Murder Sheet's podcast, right? If I got something that was legally restricted, I'd go to law enforcement, shut up, and see what develops. Then my foot would be the first to the door as the story unfolded. Are you talking about as a journalist? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay, so it was kind of like Kevin and Anya were lecturing us about ethics. I'm an actual journalist. Hey, Anna. So am I, or I was. I'm an actual journalist and was trying to think professionally, and the whole thing felt wrong. Yeah, I'm right there with you, girl. Yeah. Here's the thing. I get all sorts of stuff as a journalist. I get all sorts of stuff. Tons. Whoops. Tons of stuff. Um, you know, some of it, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And there's a process and a procedure for, I mean, I, first of all, here's the problem, though. I think that we're giving the benefit of the doubt where we shouldn't be, because I think at this point it's been made clear. I mean, I think that Murder Sheet has created a narrative, right? So the narrative wasn't, it's kind of like this, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, is that, hang on, let me take these motherfuckers. My cat just came over and bit me in the leg. Hey, what is it, sweetie? Okay. So here's the thing is that I don't, okay, this cat's going nuts. Get over here. Come here, you. Come here. As far as from a journalistic standpoint, I don't even think that we can talk about it in the context of that anymore. I mean, they're content creators, and I think that that is the only way to refer to them. They're podcasters and they have a YouTube page. So I don't think that they adhere to any ethical guidelines as far as journalism goes. I've not seen evidence of it. I've not seen any process or procedure they go through to vet their sources. I don't see any process or procedure they go through aside from their just trust me, bro. It's trust me, bro. And so, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, and the unfortunate truth here is it's not even the unfortunate truth. The truth is that they are that, in my opinion, they are that poisonous online environment. And so they keep trying to say that everybody but them are poisonous, right? That's this poisonous online environment with all these online sleuths, all this bullshit. No, they're lying to you because you spot it, you got it, right? So I think that they've controlled the narrative for so long. And the thing is that is poison. And it's poison when people position themselves as journalists and put themselves at the heart of a story. It's like yelling fire in a theater and then staying around to report on it. It's creating a story. And I don't know this Mark Robert Cohen fella, but he seems like he needs to be talked to again because he went on. And again, this is my thing is that this is about finding out the truth here in this one particular area of contempt, of the leaks of the photos that is part of the abject fuckery of the state. And the state is out of control. And the state includes all of the government. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe anything that he says. Actually, it's funny that you say that. Okay, so cat time, and then I'm going to go. Okay, when cats bite like that, my veterinarian says ecstasy. It's never love biting. Oh, hormonal. Oh, well, I should be biting her then. But she actually bites me when she's hungry. It's weird. And so she's in there eating dry food now. I think she thinks I'm a cat. So anyway, so again, I am just focusing on Exhibit 5 because everything, let me see if I can put a link to this in the drive. I'm going to put a link here. And this is just and All Eyes has it all over the place. But the only source or the only evidence that Holman and McClellan have cited to are the word of Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane. That's it. I mean, that's literally all. So anyway, I have to go study, and but it was just driving me a little bit on the nut side because it ain't right. Come here, boob. All right, I've got to go entertain me old. Oh, too late. Anyway, so I don't know when I'll see anybody again. I tend to just, decide to do this shit at the last minute. So, there's no items at that link. Oh, sorry, All Eyes. It was the Holman from the contempt hearing, because what I was focusing on was the Exhibit 5. And so we just got through that. And basically the takeaway is that the only information or the only facts they have were provided by Kevin and Anya, period. And so that's it. So it was Holman. So, yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I got to go study some shit. Y'all, I hate